let's unbox my first ever vintage, proper vintage yoga book. Yoga Personal Hygiene by Yogendra. This is the 16th reprint, Volume 1, Yoga Institute, still going in India, run by a woman now. So old. Let's see if this has a print date on it. Right, 1972. Yeah, world copyright, 1972. It's a little bit older than me. It's in pretty good condition, and there are some illustrations, and so I'm diving much more into yoga origins and philosophy. So books like this are going to be really helpful to understand the roots of the tradition that I have spent the last 20 years practicing, that has basically saved my life. And so now 20 years into an asana practice, and when I say 20 years, it's very loose. I mean, there has been times when I haven't practiced, and I would say for the most part, I've only taken it seriously for maybe 5 years out of that entire 20 years. The rest has just been a sense of maintenance of the physical form, but now something else has really touched me about yoga, and it's time to delve much deeper. This is really interesting. The Crypt of Civilization. Wow. For the World of the Future, the official publication of the Yoga Institute, including this work, have been microfilmed and sealed in the archives of the Crypt of Civilization, the greatest historical project in the world today, which is to remain inviolate until the year 8113, 1113 AD. Wow. These works have been selected by a committee of experts as the world's most authentic sources of knowledge contained in books, and so preserved for 6,000 years, hence by the Oglethorpe University of America through their remarkable scientific project of the crypt. The Yoga Institute not only pioneered the scientific yoga renaissance nearly 4 decades ago, but also serves as the guiding international link between the scientific yoga culture, scientific yoga culture, and the generations of this future. Storm is coming through, so it's getting really dark. Hopefully we can still see this. Ooh, a picture. That's really cool. Radiograph showing the nasal cleansing by the probe during lower neti. So neti pot is a kriya that a lot of yogis use. It's never been something I've practiced, but we'll see, maybe I'll start. List of illustrations. This is something that I really value about yoga, that as a methodology, as something that you can use to understand self and the world, it has been passed down for thousands of years. Theological thoughts and practice. I don't know of another religion or philosophy that has exercise tied into it. It's really unique. More illustrations. That is Shri Yogendra. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. There's an Indian pronunciation that I'm not getting right, but in the English, it's how it's phonetically. Because as an unbroken lineage, yoga is a tradition that is passed down from teacher to disciple. That's the way it works. It's a transmission. And that to me is so interesting. That to me is, I have been reaching out to my yoga teachers and asking them, you know, what their lineages are, because at the time I remember being curious, but I'm really digging into that information now to understand where the different strands of yoga came from, and you know how they have come to us, what the different interpretations mean for a seeker, for a sadhaka. And I think that this is really interesting. And perhaps as someone who has, you know, I've always been really good at sort of spotting or feeling into trends. It's because I have an interest in a lot of things and I don't go deep into any one thing. I spend my time researching across a short amount of information, but a lot of subjects. So my brain is, the depth goes laterally. And for some people, when they do research, they stick to one subject and the depth goes vertically. So because I have a keen interest in information from a wide range of subjects, and that does give me a certain perspective on spotting trends. And I believe that in the West, where, you know, let's face it, it's the most successful religious, theological takeover of any, you know, it's just taken over. Yoga took over the West. And the Indians, like Yogendra, knew that. That's why they went to America. They knew that this was going to be extremely relevant for our culture. And I think that yoga has sort of hit a plateau. People are going to yoga studios and they're basically just getting gymnastics at the majority of yoga studios, maybe some stretching classes. And I do believe that there's going to be a renaissance of the 8 limbs. So asana, the postures, are but one part of the whole ecosystem of yoga. There's personal hygiene practices. There are service practices, karma yoga. There are personal kind of commandments. There are interpersonal teachings, commandments. There are techniques for deepening into the process towards liberation. So asana is just one step in that hierarchy, the ecosystem of deepening into, you know, feeling more at ease with yourself. And let's say the ultimate of that is, you know, nirvana. And I think that in the West, you know, there's been such a saturation of asana, one limb of the 8 limbs of yoga, that we are going to see a greater interest and awareness in people who have been on the yogic path and people who are new to the yogic path, that are going to want to now understand where this came from. What does it all mean in the bigger picture? How can this ancient science help me today, because while our scientists in the West really look outwards, these scientists spent thousands of years looking inwards. For instance, I did read it actually, in the preface, only a few hundred years ago, we discovered the circulation of blood, while yoga recorded it thousands of years ago. So we are talking about dedicated scientists, and this preface is written by John W. Fox. What are his details? Of the SB Country Hospital of California, USA, and the scientific corroborator to the Yoga Institute. So that was written by a scientist, that we only discovered by our methodology of looking out, we only discovered circulation recently compared to the yogis. So what else did they discover that we are yet not aware of, because we've been stuck on asana and we haven't had the opportunity, we haven't taken the time, we haven't had the wherewithal to look and go deeper into what else have they actually discovered that would help us and that we're not talking about. And that, my friends, is what I am really super duper, absolutely, cannot wait, excited about. So, going to dive into this precious commodity. And yeah, if I read something interesting, I may come and share it. Let me know if sharing information from this book is at all interesting to you.